Hello and welcome to a new Google Sheets project in Practical Sheets. Today we're doing the continuation, the second part of the password protection program. Many of you have told me in the comments that this doesn't work 100%. There are a couple of limitations that this method has. As I told you in that video, Google Sheet is not made for being password protected. This is why you have users. You share it with the users you want. That's it. However, some of you may need to have a password protected sheet for X or Y reason. So we are trying to think outside the box here and see how can we bypass the limitations that this system has. So at the beginning, I'm going to tell you what are the limitations, and then I'm going to tell you some ideas, ones that I have tried and haven't worked, and one that I think could work. I don't know if all the cases, but in many of the cases. If you were watching closely, you saw that my data just disappeared in a moment. So what I'm going to do in this video with Google Apps Script is to create a code that every X minutes, could be every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 30 minutes, every hour, copies my data and pastes it here to a backup. So this will be blank. This means that the next time that a user with password comes here, and you may have noted that once the pop-up comes, still you have a couple of seconds left when you can see the sheets and see the data. Here, with this method, you're not going to be able to see anything. So actually, let's go to and try it. And even if you click many times and you bypass the system, you are not going to be able to see anything, only if you put the password. Here, I'm in the administrator. So you will say, okay, but what does the administrator do? The administrator will, just by refreshing, the data will come. Let's wait a couple of seconds and the data comes. Also, for the shared user, when it puts the password, the data will copy here. So it may not be the most elegant solution, but I think for the ones that are very protective of their data and don't want the people to see or edit the data, I think this is a possibility that maybe we need to try to work better, especially if you have formulas and formats and such. But if you just have data, this could work really, really well, I think. I'll just leave it to you so you can try it out and let me know what other limitations you found. So I just did a few add-ons to the code that we did in the last video. This is a follow-up video, so I encourage you to go to that video first before starting here. So before starting, I need to thank my Patreons. Without them, this couldn't be possible. Thank you so much. And if you want to support me, you can subscribe to the channel, or even better, if you want the code for this and more than 100 videos, you can go and be a patron and support me for however you want. Just for a month or much, much more. Thank you so much. So let's begin by saying that I'm not going to start from scratch like I always do. This is part 2, so I invite you to go to part 1, where we'll build the password protection method. However, once we get here and you read the comments in the video, you'll see that this is not a fail-proof method. There are several ways where this method will fail, and I'm going to show you a couple of them, and then try to find a solution. I've cracked my head. It's not an easy solution. Let's see what we can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share this new sheet with one of my other emails, so we could test it. Because one of the nice things of this is that if you are the administrator, then you will never be asked for the password. So now let's go to our other email. I'm gonna open it here and I'm going to show the first limitation. The first limitation is that before the pop-up comes up, you could move in the sheet. You could even, if you have multiple sheets, you could move between sheets. You could write something, copy something. Okay, so you have some seconds where you could see the data. Maybe some of you don't want the people to see the data. Others don't want for the person to edit the data. So if you just want to edit the data, then you just need to be a bit careful. But if you don't want it to see, then if you don't want the other people to see the data, then we'll have to be very creative. The second big limitation of this is that if you hit outside The second big limitation of this is that this is not made for passwords. This is not made for security. This feature is made for alerts, not for creating a password system. So it is not very robust. What do I mean? For example, if I give this accept enough times, or maybe if I even hit outside the window enough times, then eventually it will break my while loop and it will let me open and do anything I want. So these are these are some of the main limitations of this system that we're going to try to address in this second video. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new sheet, and I'm going to call it home. Maybe let's give this a nice design, so I could put it in a dark background and put here welcome, and this I'm going to put it white, maybe in a bigger font, and maybe I could even remove some columns to the right with Ctrl Shift right and then Ctrl Alt minus to delete, and then maybe some rows down from 31 down, Ctrl Shift down, Ctrl Alt minus, and then it may look nice. Okay, this will be my home. And the important thing to do with your home is that this sheet is always at the beginning. Why? Because when I give the sharing link, let's go back to my original, to the administrator, and I click on share, and then I copy the link, and then I give it to this other person, or the link that appears in the email will be this edit USB sharing without any specific sheet. When I give this link without any specific sheet, it will automatically go to the first sheet in my worksheet. So this means that the users won't see the data at the beginning. They could if they're quick, because this is one of the other limitations that I told you about. You can go very quickly to the sheet and maybe try to do something in the few seconds you have left before the pop-up comes up. So it's just a little band-aid trick that could help us at the beginning, but it's not definitive. I've tried some other methods. We could, for example, protect this sheet, but it wouldn't work. Why? Because if I protect it, for example, if I do the code that when this person protects the sheet, the thing is if this person is protecting it, the protection won't cover him. So he will be immune to the protection, you know? So we could not put him on the open. One option could be to do a trigger that every 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes protects the sheet. But again, if this person has the file open, the protection won't cover him. He will be left unprotected. The other thing I tried is to maybe fill this with a color, black or whatever. Let's see that let's think, for example, before doing any code, that we could cover all of this in black. Okay, and the letter will be black. It could work for someone to not be able to see, but still they could copy it, and if you copy it and then paste it only as values, it would work. Or if you stand, you still can see the values. So still, these are band-aid things that seem to work, but again, Sheets is not made to be protected via password, because in theory, it is made to be accessed by the users or the accounts that the administrator wants it to be accessed by. You know, so this password is a thing we've invented, but I've seen some online. I haven't tested them yet with some other codes. I don't know if they're fail-proof, but I think it's difficult to do it because of how Google Sheets it's built. However, I think I found a solution. The solution is the following. I don't know if it will work in every case, but what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to create an auxiliary sheet. Here, sheets new, sheets.new. I'm going to call this sheet protect part 2 backup. What I could do is to have my data. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it here in my backup sheet. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new sheet every time I open the sheet. Because other thing I tried was to hide it, but hide it won't work because it's very easy to show. Even if it's protected, you can show any sheet. This is a big fail in Google Sheets because the easiest would be to have a password possibility in the protection. I think this is a thing they're going to implement sooner or later. But for now, what I'm going to do, and again, this may be a bit of a stretch, so just bear with me. What I'm going to do is to have a backup. And this backup, I'm going to copy it in my sheet. Well, maybe instead of deleting, what I could do is instead of removing the sheet, what I could do is just delete the content. So for now, I'm going to remove this horrible background that I have here. I'm just going to say reset here. And what I'm going to do is, again, remove all of this. So as soon as the code starts, the first thing it's going to do is to go to this sheet 1. I'm going to call it data, maybe, to data, and then delete everything. Maybe before deleting it, I could copy it to another place. For now, I'm going to copy it so I don't lose it. And I'm going to connect with my sheet. Worksheet will be spreadsheet app dot get active spreadsheet, and then my data sheet will be ws dot get sheet by name, and it will be the data, and then I'm going to say data ss dot get data range. Get data range looks for all of the tables that the sheet has. And then I'm going to say clear content. That's it. And then it will bring my pop-up. Okay, so this is the first part. Maybe we could do it just inside this if, so that it doesn't do it for the administrator. So we could do this. Let's copy it and paste it just if you are not the administrator. So if I save it and then I refresh here, I shouldn't see anything. I shouldn't see a pop-up and I shouldn't have this removed. Okay, let's wait 2 seconds. Apparently it works. Now I'm going to my shared user. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to stay in my home. Remember that I always share it from my home. Another thing I could do at the beginning is to select this home sheet, but it takes a lot. I've done some tests, I've done some trial runs, and it's horrible. It waits like 1 minute to move to the sheet. So it's not the best, but we could do it also. We could do a lot of measures. So let's refresh for the moment. Let's go to our data. So you can see that this takes a lot of time. So we're going to do the code to go to the other sheet, but you will see that it takes a lot of time. So it's easy, it's quicker for the pop-up to appear than for this to be deleted. So we'll continue to wait. Finally, it made it. So it's not the best option also, but it's a thing we could do. Another thing we could do is that it deletes it every 30 minutes, every hour, so that when the person opens it, this will be deleted. It will be a bad user experience because maybe you're here and then one moment it's deleted and then you have to refresh so that it opens up again. But it's a possibility, you know? So what we're going to do, and the other thing is that it will also pass to the administrator. The administrator may be working on something and in a moment it will be erased. But let's try it because again, this is all trial and error. I'm going to go to my other sheet and here. Instead of doing it, given that it takes so long, what I'm going to do is do it outside of my script. I'm going to create another function called trying to protect the data. So I'm going to copy these, the WS and the data spreadsheet, and I'm going to copy this clear content here. And I'm going to create a trigger. So first, let's save. Then let's go to our triggers, add a trigger, and we're going to run this trying to protect the data. Not from a spreadsheet, but time-driven. And we're going to say that this will run every minute for now, but maybe you will put it every half hour, every hour. For now, I'm going to say minutes timer, and I'm going to say that every minute. This will be horrible for us at the beginning, but it's to try this out, okay? Actually, I'm going to change it to every 5 minutes or 10. So again, I'm going to edit here, and I'm going to say every 5 minutes and save. So this means that for now, we're going to run it. Well, it already ran because now I don't have anything here. And I don't have anything here. Maybe I don't want it to erase it, but to copy it to my backup. So let's paste it again. So what I'm going to do instead of erasing it is to copy it to my backup. So instead of, and then we're going to clear the content. So let's save this data range to a variable called range. And at the end, we're going to do range clear content. For now, we're going to copy it. How do we copy it? We do range dot get values, and we'll copy them in this variable data array. Let's see if it hasn't been erased yet. No, it hasn't run again. So now what I'm going to do is look for this same range here and paste it again, replacing what it already has. So first I'm going to erase whatever it has here, and then I'm going to paste on top of it. So I need, this is my first WS. Now I'm going to change the name of this worksheet to master worksheet without the caps. And I'm going to create another WS that will be called backup WS. It will be spreadsheet up dot, and I'm going to open by ID. So I go to my backup. I'm going to copy these numbers and letters. I'm going to paste it within quotation marks. I need a sheet, so I'm going to say get sheet by name, and in this case the name, I think it's backup. I'm going to call this backup sheet, backup spreadsheet, and then I'm going to do this same thing, the clear content part. So backup spreadsheet dot get data range dot clear content. So I will erase whatever is there. And then I'm going to paste on top my range, my data array. So I will say backup spreadsheet dot get range. I need a range that starts in row number 1 and column number 1, and then goes to X rows and Y columns. How many rows do I need? This is the same rows that this data array has. So for that, I'm going to invoke the length property. And then for the columns, I'm going to also invoke the length property, but not for the entire data array, but for the first element of the data array. And I will say set values, and let's paste our data array. That's it. And finally, I will clear the content. So let's save. Let's see here if it already ran, and you can see that it already run, unfortunately, and erased everything. So let's paste again my table here. I'm going to erase just for you to see, and maybe I'm going to paste some data here just for you to see that it will erase everything here and will paste whatever is here creating this backup. So let's run my trying to protect the data. I need these permissions, and this is good that I know, because now I need to go to my trigger and also run it again to see if the trigger also needs the permissions. So let's see. Here you can see that it copied it and it erased it from here. So for anyone that doesn't know, it'll come here and it's like there's no data. So let's go to our trigger before we forget, and let's run it again. I'm going to edit it and save it again to see if it asks me for some other permissions. Apparently not. Let's go back to our editor. And what I want to do is that when the person puts its correct password, then it will go to my it will do the reverse, go to the backup and bring the data. This is, again, just keep in mind that this works just for data. If you want to do it for formulas, if you have formulas and other things, then we would need to do it in another way. It could be done, but it will be basically the same, but adding a couple of other things. So what I'm going to do is, if we have a correct answer, then we're going to do basically the same thing, but backwards. So let's copy it here. So my master WS, perfect. The data SS, perfect. The range, it's not from the data SS, but from my backup. So here, remember, I have my backup and my backup SS. So let's copy them here. So the range won't be data SS get data range, but backup SS get data range, because I'm looking for the backup, and then I'm going to bring it here to my data. And this will be, the data array will be still range get values, perfect. Then I can delete this. We come at the beginning, we're going to delete, we're going to do the clear content, but for the master WS. So here I can say data SS dot get data range, clear content. In theory, I don't need this data, because in theory it should be blank, but just in case. Maybe I'll have some error here if there's nothing else, so maybe we should need to put a conditional here, but for now, let's leave it like it is. Now I'm going, so I copy the backup, I have the data array, and I don't need to delete anything. I'm just going to get the range, not in my backup SS, but on my data SS, on my master, on my data SS. So I'm going to get the range the same from starting on row 1 on column 1, the length of the data array and the length of the first position of the data array, the first row, and we're going to set the values being the values of the data array. And finally, I don't need to clear any content, so it will be as it is. So let's save and let's do our test. You can see here that there's nothing, so let's go to our other user here. We're going to remember what was the password. I don't remember. The password is whatever. So let's update. So here the nice thing is that even if the user is very quick and tries to go here, it won't find anything. So let's do whatever. And I think here we'll find, we may found here an error that I forgot. So you can see that here is not going to do anything. I'm going to go again to my code and go to my executions. And I'm going to see an error. And the error will be regarding the permissions, I think. So here, sorry, the Spanish, it says, you don't have permissions to call spreadsheet app open by ID. No tienes permisos para llamar a spreadsheet app open by ID. Why? Because we are using a simple trigger. So the solution is simple. Here, you remember we call the protect by password in an unopened trigger, a simple trigger. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to create a new trigger. I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to triggers. Remember, we already created a time-driven trigger. Now we're going to create an open trigger. So let's say a trigger. The function will be protect by password. This will leave it as it is. In the select event type we'll leave unopened. We save it. If it asks for permissions, we give them. If not, we are okay. And let's try it again. This is the only thing we needed to do. To delete. Hit enter, and let's wait a couple of seconds. Actually, I'm going to go to data so that you can see that it's still blank. Okay, so let's hit our correct password, whatever. Correct password, let's hit accept and let's wait. Okay, so actually, this we should do it only when the answer is correct. So I'm going to cut this and paste it after this alert. Save it again. And let's try it again. Whatever. Let's hit accept. And the reason it is not working is because our backup is in 0. Why? Because here I'm saying that copy everything that they have and paste it, even if the content is nothing. So what I can say is that only copy it if it has something. If it's blank, don't copy it. Actually, the best way is not to clear the content, maybe even. That it could present a problem if there are less rows or something like that. But for now, I think that what we could do is just to put a comment on this. And here, let's paste in our backup for now the table we had. Okay, and let's open it again. Let's refresh it again. It's right here, whatever. Let's hit accept. And now I have my data. Okay, so this is the best thing I found. Maybe we need to tweak here and then. If you are on the Patreon, please just let me know if there's anything we may tweak, and maybe we can do a third part. I know some of you have asked to have many users, each one with its own password. We could do it also, but one of my Patreons asked me for this, so this is why I did this quick video, trying to find some ways. Maybe this is not the best way, and if you have suggestions, please let me know. But the thing is, from the code, I don't think there's a way. Maybe there is, and maybe I'm wrong. It could happen. I'm sure it's a big possibility, but I don't see how you could change the behavior of the pop-up. So if you don't hit it 10, 20 times, it just goes away. I don't think so. So I think we need to think outside the box and think of solutions such as this one. That again, maybe it doesn't work in every case. And you may say, well, what if I have some formulas and I have some formats and this is just setting the values? Okay, we could do that. We could also copy the formulas. We could also copy the colors, the formats, and much, much more. Okay, but this is just a first idea. Just you let me know if you like it or not, so we could continue developing it. There is just one thing missing, and that is that this only works if I put the correct password. But what happens if I'm the administrator And this is also deleting it every half an hour, 5 minutes, or whatever. So what I could do is this same thing, master WS data, ISS, whatever, we're going to put it also if the administrator is the one that it's opening the file. So here I'm going to say else, and maybe we could do a more efficient code, but for now I'm not interested in that, but that it works. So if you're in the Patreon and you say, hey, I want it to work a bit better, maybe we could do a better template that is a more efficient code, but for now I'm interested in that it works. No more. So let's try it again. I'm going to refresh being the administrator and making sure it also works for me without having to put the password. And that's it. That's what I was missing. So before starting, I need to thank my Patreons. Without them, this couldn't be possible. Thank you so much. And if you want to support me, you can subscribe to the channel, or even better, if you want the code for this and more than 100 videos, you can go and be a patron and support me for however you want. Just for a month. See you next time.